Hi everyone, and welcome back to my video blog for films about painting spring 2020. Today I will be discussing Van Gogh's documentary by Simon Schama, and I will be answering the question of, we discussed that Van Gogh painted like 1,000 paintings in 10 years, and this is more than most of the other painters we've seen. There are some painters where we've either only been able to find so many, like nowhere near 1,000, or just in their lifetime they worked on bigger paintings that took a longer time to do. But Van Gogh made 1,000 in 10 years. That's a lot. Let's think about that. That's a lot of paintings. And so this is more than any painter we have discussed. And the question is, do you think his paintings are better or worse because of this approach? Scale aside, if you finished a new painting every day, how would it change you and the world? Now, to put into perspective a little bit about Van Gogh and his speed of painting, because I think that's definitely important when discussing, his skill and if it was good or not that he painted that much, and if it made his paintings better or worse. I am looking at the Van Gogh Museum's website. It's vangoghmuseum.nl, 125 questions and answers on their website about Van Gogh. And I think that's pretty cool, especially the fact that it's the museum giving this information and being so approachable to the public to be answering these. So the title of the article is number 108 out of 125 questions. How long did Van Gogh take to complete the painting? Basically, the Van Gogh Museum states, and I quote, that varied quite a bit. Vincent was always a relatively quick painter, but he did need more time to complete a painting in his early years as an artist in the Netherlands than later in his career. Back then, he was getting to grips with color theories, perspective, and the entire range of artistic principles. He put a great deal of preparation into The Potato Eaters, his first large figure study, working on dozens of preparatory studies. The final painting took many days to complete, spread over a longer period of time. However, during the last 2 months of his life in Oise, don't know how to say that, Vincent completed a painting every day. He had a different relationship with it than he did when he first started painting. And that would make sense. I think that makes sense with anyone. They master their craft. And so I would not say, though, that, I don't think that, it made him better or worse, because he would paint so much. I think it matters what the quality was and what he was able to produce and what it really showed, if that makes sense. So I think something important to talk about is Simon Schama's discussion of the potato eaters in the documentary, because he does say that in the film that the potato eaters was everything he ever felt or thought put into this. And I think that's really important because, as that quote from the Van Gogh Museum states, that he took a long time to prepare for that. And I think that absolutely makes sense, that it was beyond just a painting. It was using the paint to express how he felt. And but in this painting, for the potato eaters, the light doesn't seem like it's hopeful. And I think that's a powerful thing, especially with everything that Van Gogh was feeling. And I think that with his amount of painting, I think that is a way to channel how he felt. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think it's an interesting thing because it shows Van Gogh not as just an artist, but as a human being, as a person. So Simon Schama also goes on to state in the documentary that Van Gogh would paint a picture a day, sometimes even more. And he also states that the paintings, they were, and as I quote, wild, but they're also deeply sane. A man in total control of his painterly faculties. Grip on the brush was never stronger, pained like the ground may buck underneath. And I think that is really important. That is such a contrasting statement. It's like every single part of the painting is mapped out. It's known what's going to happen. Perfectly done, right? But then the brush itself, the paint itself was, what word do I want to use? I almost want to say dramatic, but that's not the word I want to use. Almost violent. Let's do that. Yeah, because that's how I feel sometimes when I see some of his paintings, especially more of his like some of the brushstrokes he makes. They just seem so violent, even if it's not a violent image. And I think that is something. And like when he says like the ground may buck underneath, it's done like, it's like anxious. That's the word. It's an anxious painting, but it's completely sane, as Schama also states. And we could see this in some of his paintings that he did later on in his career. I cannot speak. Now, the painting that I wanted to talk about is the Vincent van Gogh self-portrait that he made in 1889, and that was mentioned in the documentary by Schama. And this is a really important portrait because it's pretty much like the last one he ever made of himself. From the National Gallery of Art's website, which is a government website, they state that this painting was done at the asylum at St. Remy, and as I quote, where Van Gogh had committed himself following a mental breakdown, and it is among the last portraits he made. During his stay, he suffered another collapse and remained confined in his room for more than a month, not even venturing into the garden. Once he was able to paint again, this was the first canvas he made, apparently in a single sitting. Van Gogh believed strongly that only work could restore his health. If he's choosing to, like as they state that he did this in one go, Van Gogh, haha. Anyway, he did this in one go at St. Remy's at following a mental breakdown. It's almost like he's becoming at peace with what's happened in his life, which is very unfortunate. Is that he just chose to depict himself in such, it's almost like his clothing blends into the background. And given that he studied color theory, and as Schama states, he discovered color, as I quote, obsessed with colors that were opposites but complementary. It's interesting because, I mean, in a way, this is opposites. It's everything is blue, but then his face, he has the orange, which we know, like, blue and orange go together very well. But it's like he's blending into the background, if that makes sense. And I think that's important because they're saying that, like, from the National Gallery of Art, they're saying that this art helped him, and that was the only way to help his health. It's a way to cope. And I do think that makes art, whether it's good or not, and I do think Van Gogh is a fantastic artist, don't get me started, but I think art that can move you and motivate you or make you feel at peace or make you feel better in any way is good art. Let's be real, practice makes perfect, and I think I already said that. If I didn't, I said it in my head. Practice does make perfect, so if you are doing the same thing again and again, you can only get better, and I imagine he's done it so much he just got faster at it because he already knew how to do it. And I think that's important, and the fact that he didn't have to prepare for this portrait, since he did it in one sitting, he didn't have to prepare for it the way that he did with the potato eaters. That tells us more of something, because he must be feeling so much about this. He didn't even have to think about it very much. And I think that's really interesting. So that's pretty much my answer then for if I think his paintings are better or worse because of this approach. And now I'm going to be answering if I finished a new painting every day, how would it change me or the world? So to answer this question, if I finished a new painting every day, how would it change me or the world? I kind of do need to put it a little bit more into context of something that I think is more like me related, not to make it more me, but all about me, but I'm a writer, and I'm also a big reader, and I talk about how I'm an English major all the time. And when I read this question, I thought of it as more of like as a creator. If you create something every day, how would it change you or the world? And don't worry, I'll get back to painting, but I'm thinking that, like, there have been times where I would consecutively write, and especially when I'm physically writing, not typing. Oh my god, it's great when you're physically writing something out that's important to you, or that you're just feeling so much. But when I write, if I'm able to write every single day, it is, like, incredible. I feel like a new version of me. I feel like, you know, it feels like something shifted almost in the air, because I was able to get out what I was feeling out of my own head, out of my own body into something else. But from Chris Dessie's article, Why You Need to Create Something Every Day, he talks about his friend, and I'm going to summarize part of it and then quote some of it. But his friend is a playwright, and he knows his friend is like super talented, but he's miserable at his job sometimes. So he talks about this conversation with him, and as I quote, "The conversation got started when he sent me his most recent script. It's awesome, but it pissed me off. He was asking how he could get a job as a writer based on what he had sent me. I'm not in the film or TV business, so I have no idea how screenwriters get their big break. I truly have no idea where to start, but what I do know is my friend needs to create every single day. That, like, if you create something, you have to continue to act on it if you feel so deeply about it. And I think making something every day does make a difference, because it changes not only like, it changes you, but it also changes how you are towards other people, how you are around other people. When you are able to channel maybe an energy that you weren't able to unlock and just talking about it. When you yourself are able to make something out of your own pain, out of your own happiness even, that's awesome. It's something that is special to you, but that's what's important. It's like if you are creating every day, you can continue doing what you're doing, and you keep learning from it. You learn from yourself almost, which is really cool, because I think a lot of people get frustrated when they have to listen to someone else, when they're like, I want to follow my own rules. Well, if you do something every day, you're going to learn your own rules, learn your own way around it. And I think if I were to paint every day, pretending that I'm a painter instead of a writer, if I were to paint every day, I think it would deeply change me. It would change how I see my own emotions, maybe based on what colors I decide to use one day, or maybe if the brush strokes, if they look angry, if they look everything seems to be very blended. It depends on how I'm feeling, and it would help me understand how I need to view myself, view my artwork, and view what is around me. And I think that can change the world as well. Kind of going back to Van Gogh, I think it is really incredible that he was able to paint that much, knowing that this was something that helped him cope. And I think that is, being able to see what allowed him to cope is special. It's special we get to see that. And I think that is why I really like him as an artist. And it's funny, I don't see him the way I see other artists. I see him so much as more human. So like when I took this class, it didn't cross my mind we would talk about Van Gogh, which sounds so goofy. I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about Monet. We're going to talk about this guy. We're going to talk about David. But I never thought, I don't know why Van Gogh didn't cross my mind. And I understand now it's because his paintings really gave us an insight to his world and how he saw it, and all these swirls and these crazy brush strokes. And it's just, it's special, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Please stay safe out there and wash your hands. And I'll see you guys in the next video.